Making headlines this hour, Maldives condemns Israel's decision to establish an agency aimed at the forced displacement of Palestinians from Gaza Strip. President reaffirms Maldives' steadfast commitment to its relation with Bangladesh. And Palestinians start to flee Gaza's Jabalia after the Israeli military issued evacuation orders.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening and welcome to PSM News in English. I'm your host Ahmad Imad and I'll be continuing with the details for the latest stories. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz reaffirms the Maldives' steadfast commitment to the relation with Bangladesh, a partnership defined by mutual understanding, shared aspirations for regional stability and vibrant people-to-people ties. His remarks were made in commemoration of Bangladesh's 54th independence anniversary. As part of the observance, President Dr. Muiz addressed letters to Bangladeshi President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Interim Government Chief Advisor Dr. Muhammad Yunus. In these messages, he extended heartfelt congratulations on behalf of the Maldivian government and its citizens, underscoring the camaraderie and mutual respect that have long shaped relations between the two nations. The President reflected on the enduring strength of the Maldives-Bangladesh relations, citing their foundation in shared values and collaborative initiatives across various sectors, according to a statement issued by the President's office. The President's office said that the President also expressed a confident outlook for the future, noting that expanded cooperation would bring meaningful benefits to the citizens of both countries. Bangladesh declared its independence on 26 March 1971, marking the nation's official emergence as a sovereign state. Earlier in the day, the President shared a commemorative message on his official X account, reflecting the Maldives' appreciation for Bangladesh's journey and progress. The Maldives government condemns the announcement by Israel to establish an agency aimed at the forced displacement of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, along with plans to expand illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank.
Israel has announced plans to establish a government agency that would oversee the voluntary departure of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. In addition to displacing Palestinians from Gaza, Israel's Security Cabinet has also approved a plan to separate and legalize 13 settlement outposts in the occupied West Bank. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a statement said the Maldives government considers these actions by Israel a serious violation of international law and United Nations resolutions. The statement said forced displacement and settlement expansion undermine peace efforts and threaten the rights and dignity of the Palestinian people. It also said that the Maldives calls on the international community to act urgently to protect civilians and help end the violence in Gaza. The Maldives in the statement also reiterated its support for the Palestinian people and their legitimate right to an independent state based on the pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Israeli nationalists have long sought the expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The Israeli move follows suggestions from United States President Donald Trump that residents of Gaza should be moved to other countries. Palestinian reports estimate that by the end of 2024, approximately 770,000 illegal Israeli settlers were living in 180 settlements and 256 outposts across the occupied territory. The UN considers all Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories illegal under international law. Israel's military, meanwhile, has pressed ground operations across the Gaza Strip almost a week into a renewed assault on the Palestinian territory. The war triggered by Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel had killed at least 50,021 people in the territory.
The government seeks contractors to build council secretariat buildings in islands across 6 atolls. In January, the Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works signed a contract with Malaysia-based Hexstar Global to construct council secretariat buildings across 55 islands. The agreement, formalized on 20th January, employs a contractor finance model designed to optimize resource allocation for public development projects. Giving further details about this, Minister of Cities, Local Government and Public Works, Adam Sharif Umar, said that the island councils have been asked to seek contractors for the construction of council buildings in Ha Alif, Ha Dal, Shaviani, Noon, Ra and Dal atoll. Minister noted that Uthim Island Council has already made the announcement seeking contractors and praised them for the promote action. Under the government's landmark project, work has already commenced on 13 islands with groundbreaking ceremonies spanning 3 atolls. The administration has set a target to complete secretariat buildings on 105 islands during its current tenure. This endeavor seeks to replace old facilities, addressing space constraints that have hindered the efficiency of local governance. Once complete, the initiative is expected to fulfill 70% of the administration's goal to enhance administrative capabilities of local councils across the country. Minister of Divehi Language, Culture and Heritage Adam Nasir Ibrahim announces an initiative to train individuals with expertise required to lead and manage museums across the country. The program is designed to equip individuals working in or managing both private and public museums, especially in atolls. In an interview with PSM News, Minister Adam Nasir emphasized the importance of developing local talent to ensure the effective management of cultural institutions. He described the initiative as a crucial step in preserving the nation's heritage, with plans to launch training sessions later this year. The minister highlighted how this supports President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's vision of strengthening national identity, which is also a key part of the ministry's strategic plan. The plan prioritizes the establishment of museums in the outer islands to celebrate Maldivian culture and history. Minister Adam Nasir added that expanding knowledge of museum operations nationwide is central to this goal. This initiative has been supported by international partnerships. The minister noted that discussions with foreign diplomats and officials laid the groundwork for the program, with preliminary training sessions already held last year. 2 ministry officials are set to travel to China on April 17th to explore further training opportunities. Applications for the program will open after the preliminary sessions, with full-scale training set to begin in 3 months. Minister Ibrahim also highlighted ongoing efforts to restore historical sites and artifacts as part of a broader strategy to preserve heritage and build museum management capacity across communities and non-governmental organizations. The Human Rights Commission of the Maldives, HRCM, calls on local media to uphold ethical standards and principles to protect people's basic rights and dignity. HRCM's statement follows a controversial broadcast on a local TV station on March 22nd, where the host and guests mocked and belittled people with disabilities, calling them inferior and unintelligent. In response, the Human Rights Commission took to social media, reminding local media outlets that every individual has the right to live with dignity and respect. The Commission has urged all media to ensure their content upholds human rights and does not violate anyone's dignity. HRCM has also called for an investigation into the incident by the relevant authorities. The government signs a contract with Road Development Corporation RDC to develop and restore the heritage and cultural sites in Halif Kela.
Minister of Divehi Language, Culture and Heritage Adam Nasir Ibrahim signed the agreement on behalf of the government, while Managing Director, Brigadier General Retired Ali Zuhair signed on behalf of RDC. Speaking at the agreement signing ceremony, Minister Adam Sharif said the strategic action plan of the ministry has attached increased significance to instill a spirit of developing and protecting heritage monuments in every island across the Maldives. The minister told PSM News that this initiative aligns with President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's vision for protecting the country's cultural and heritage sites while advocating for cultural and heritage tourism. He spoke on President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's wider vision for the culturally rich Halif Atoll, which also includes Takandu, Barang and Uthimu, underscoring the administration's dedication to prioritizing cultural and national promotion. Takandu hosts numerous cultural and heritage sites, including the mausoleum of Ali Thakur Fanu from Uthimu and the country's largest coral stone graveyard. Speaking during the ceremony, Abdullah Sharif, the island's representative in Parliament, said that the diverse cultural identity of Kela has been ignored for many years. However, he expressed confidence that this administration will right the injustice and develop and preserve the heritage sites in the island within the next 5 years. The Ministry of Diva Language, Culture and Heritage has been actively engaged in several initiatives to promote knowledge about nationality and cultural identity. These efforts include preserving and promoting Maldivian culture, which encompasses the Diva language, traditional arts and heritage. Additional initiatives involve integrating cultural and national identity topics into the curriculum and conducting public awareness campaigns to educate citizens about the significance of their national identity and cultural heritage.
The Nasdaq ends higher, with Apple rising and Nvidia dipping as investors assessed consumer sentiment data and bet on a more flexible trade policy stance from the Trump administration next week.
U.S. President Donald Trump said that automobile tariffs were coming soon, while suggesting that not all proposed tariffs would be enforced in an April 2nd announcement on which Wall Street is focused. Weighed by worries that Trump's tariffs would fuel inflation and hurt economic growth, the S&P 500 is down about 2% so far in 2025, and it is on track for its first quarterly loss since June 2023.
Yeah, I would start by suggesting that March Madness in 2025 started in the stock market this year as opposed to on the basketball courts, as we've seen a heightened level of volatility and a heightened level of uncertainty. That volatility and that uncertainty has led to a downward pull with respect to stock market activity. We've seen some attempts at a bounce back only to be thwarted by more uncertainty. That uncertainty has left some money on the sidelines. The brunt of that volatility has taken place in the areas of the market that have really led the stock market forward over the last 2 years. That being the information technology sector and those 7 magnificent technology stocks in particular. However, underneath the surface, the rest of the stock market is doing relatively well, as the other 493 stocks are now starting to perform. And that's encouraging for the sustainability of this bull market. But as it is in today's market, and as it will be for the balance of the year, the bull market run cannot continue without the 7 large cap technology stocks or the technology sector as a whole.
Ratings agency Moody's said on Tuesday that the United States' fiscal strength is on track for a continued multi-year decline as budget deficits widen and debt becomes less affordable. Another report revealed a dip in consumer confidence, with the index falling to 92.9 in March, its lowest since February 2021. The S&P 500 gained 9.08 points or 0.16% to end at 5,776.65 points, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 83.26 points or 0.46% to 18,271.86. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 4.18 points or 0.01% to 42,587.5.
Portuguese oil company Galp Energia's gasoline exports to the United States could be curtailed if US President Donald Trump imposes tariffs on European goods, but the company is confident it can find alternative destinations.
Executive board member Ronald Duesberg, who is in charge of industrial assets, told Reuters that if U.S. demand for gasoline drops as a result of higher prices stemming from the proposed 25% tariffs, Galp will be able to deal with it.
In general, the energy market is global, the gasoline streams are global, and hence our gasoline production will have sufficient flexibility to find its way to different markets. Similar things have been happening in the past with different type of disruption. So yes, it will have an impact, but it's an impact that will be managed from a market overall, and Galp will play its role through that impact.
Galp's only refinery in Sines usually produces about 2 million metric tons of gasoline per year, of which between 1.2 million and 1.5 million tons are exported to the United States. The remainder is taken by the Portuguese market. Trump has threatened to impose 25% tariffs on all European goods, raising the risk of a trade war that could prove damaging for export-oriented European companies. He said tariffs would have an impact, but it's an impact that will be managed, adding that Gulf has handled trade-related disruptions in the past and that CINES could be realigned towards different types of products, depending on the prices and demand.
Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela, addresses a conference in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, leading the audience in chants supporting Hamas and its Iranian-backed allies.
Mandela, who converted to Islam in 2015, has long advocated the Palestinian cause, an influence from his grandfather Nelson, whose African National Congress's ANC struggle against white minority rule leading up to South Africa's 1994 post-apartheid election was supported by then Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat's Palestine Liberation Organization.
Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free. Viva Hamas, viva! Viva Hezbollah, viva! Viva Ansarullah, viva! Long live the undying spirit of the Yemeni people, long live! Long live the undying spirit of the Yemeni people, long live!
Israel has disputed the comparison with apartheid as a lie motivated by anti-Semitism, but many South Africans follow Mandela's lead.
On foot, in vehicles and on animal-led carts, Palestinians fled Gaza's Jabalia after the Israeli military issued evacuation orders.
The Israeli army told residents in all northern border towns to evacuate, claiming Palestinian rockets had been fired at Israel from the area. Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip killed at least 23 Palestinians on March 25th, local health officials said. The Israeli military resumed its genocidal campaign in Gaza a week ago. Palestinian health officials says nearly 700 people, mostly women and children, have been killed since then. Most of Gaza's 2.3 million population has already been displaced by the fighting multiple times during nearly 18 months of war and is facing worsening shortages of food and water after Israel suspended aid deliveries earlier this month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the renewed offensive aimed to pressure Hamas into releasing the remaining 59 hostages it is holding in Gaza. About 24 of them are believed to be still alive. The latest bloodshed in the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict was triggered on October 7, 2023, when Hamas militants attacked Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking about 250 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Israel's subsequent military assault on Gaza has killed over 50,000 Palestinians, according to the local health ministry.
Athletes get the chance to test the new sliding center that will host events at the Winter Olympics next year following the completion of work on the track.
The Eugenio Monti Center in the Alpine Resort of Cortina d'Ampezzo has been rebuilt at a cost of 118 million euros or $128 million and will stage several events during the Games next February. Initial testing will be held all week in 3 disciplines with 60 athletes taking part, including those from host Italy and 11 other nations. Award-winning athletes were in the mix of these test rounds.
But I think that this sliding center will be a monument not only for sport but for engineer, for art, because it's a very, very strong and typical sculpture in the mountain.
Named after an Italian former bobsleigh champion, the center replaces one originally built in the 1920s, and the work has been done in just over a year. The venue has been on a tight deadline after Italy opted to build a new facility instead of using an existing one in one of the several neighboring countries. Although the track is ready for athletes to test its specifications and for safety checks, work remains to be done to finalize its surroundings at the venue. Eyebrows were raised when it emerged that Lake Placid in New York State had been designated as a long-distance backup solution should things go wrong in Cortina. Cortina and Italy's biggest northern city of Milan, more than 400 kilometers away, are the main hosts of the Games, which will run from February 6 to February 22nd.
In Amil, Spain, a captivating tradition unfolds as people guide herds of wild horses from the mountains into a fold.
These wild creatures, known for their spirited nature and the annual Rapadas Bestas, or shaving of the wild horses, are integral to the cultural heritage of Galicia in the north of Spain. During the ceremony, herds of wild horses run down the hills guided by locals to eventually enter the fold where they are temporarily contained. Inside the fold, a unique cultural event takes place. Aloitadores, or wrestlers, skillfully wrestle the horses to the ground to trim their manes, tag, and vaccinate the animals. This practice not only maintains the health of the horses by preventing parasites, but also preserves a tradition deeply rooted in the Galician way of life. Xavier Alvarez Blasquez Fernandez, secretary of the Association of Wild Horses in Serra da Groba, emphasizes the historical significance of these animals. He asserts that wild horses, or bestas, are valuable not only genetically but also historically, having roamed the land since the Pleistocene era. Despite their importance, they are often misclassified as cattle, overlooking their wild and local essence. People who run the rapas don't make a profit, and locals say costs including vet fees, insurance, fencing, microchipping, and GPS equipment are multiplying, making it more difficult for people to look after the wild animals. But the role of wild horses extends beyond cultural significance. In Galicia, wildfires pose a constant threat, and the horses are helping stop fires by clearing the undergrowth between trees. In September, the village of San Colmide was spared from a fire thanks to grazing by animals and the native oaks, sweet chestnuts, and birches that burn more slowly, acting as a shield, said firefighter Cesar Leiros. Wild horses are often seen grazing on gorse, a highly combustible plant. Their constant grazing helps manage vegetation growth, reducing the risk of wildfires. These animals, revered as clearing machines, work tirelessly, ensuring that vegetation does not overgrow and contribute to fire hazards.
And that's all we have for you right now. Thank you for tuning into PSM News. Wish you a pleasant day ahead.
ಬರಕಾತೆರೆ ರಮಲಾನ್ ಮಹುಗೆ ಹೇ ಒಯ್ದುಮಾತ ಹುನಿಯಾ ಟಿವಿ ಬಲ್ಲವಾ ಲೋಬಿತ್ ರೈತುನಂ ಅರಿಸ್ಕುರಂ